Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky. Watch every live Premier League game this season on Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Now, you're very welcome back. So happy to say in studio we have Keith Tracy, Republic of Ireland International. We have Dion Fanning, the Currency's Associate Editor. And we have Shane Keegan, Cove Ramblers Manager. You're all very welcome.
Thanks, Joe.
Please.
The morning into afternoon now after the night before. So 2-1 defeat for Ireland. We're going to reflect on that over the next hour. Lots of texts in to 53106. Keep them coming in. I would say very supportive in the main of Stephen Kenny thus far. At Off the Ball is where you'll get us on Twitter. So let's start with the game itself and then we'll go big picture. First half, we were very happy.
Very happy, I thought. Really positive, exciting. Again, there are times in the first half when you kind of, you have to remind yourself, don't get carried away because they haven't won this match. You haven't won this match yet. But again, everything looks positive. The team looked so cohesive, so well organised, and I thought also kind of so physically impressive. Like, they were big, strong, and it's amazing. We dropped our biggest player, and yet there's this real physicality about Ireland that looked just really, really good. And everything just seemed encouraging.
And a nice balance as well in that, like, from the off, Bazunu wasn't afraid to go long with kicks. I mean, there was a bit of variety. They were certainly trying to play football, but there was a pragmatism there. So, they're the kind of things we've been talking about a lot during the Kenny era, and that all seemed to be good.
Yeah, I thought that was brilliant for the first 10, 15 minutes. We just played over the press because it's commonsensical, isn't it? If you're going to Hampden and they're going to press you, they want the crowd up, they want to set traps in the middle of the pitch, they want to rob the ball in your final third, so just play over it. And it was no problem because they wanted it. When they played against Ukraine, they wanted to be on the halfway line, and we had Obafemi in, which I thought, I can understand why he played him, but look, we'll get into it later. I think there's an awful lot of decisions for Stephen Kenny to make in that game. But the first half was excellent. We went the whole game, restricted them, no shots on target, but I think the intensity fell a little bit in the second half, and everybody's saying we played well. Malumbi, Knight, Cullen did play well, but I can't ever remember them passing the ball forward. It was all in a defensive manner. It was all getting the ball back, doing the horrible stuff, but none of the nice passes, no setting up, no assists, no going past people in the middle of the pitch. It was all very good defensively.
Yes, a lot of the through balls were from the back three almost,
exactly,
wandering forward and playing them through. Shane?
Yeah, it sounds wise in hindsight now, but the first thing I thought at half time, I was really impressed with the first half, particularly our shape out of the ball. When you match those two shapes up against each other, the question mark for the Irish side obviously is who's going to go to the fullbacks when the fullbacks step forward, because you don't have your normal 7 and 11 who would deal with it in a more traditional shape, and normally it would be the wing backs that would come up to them. But it was the midfield three for Ireland. They were swinging that tree from side to side each time. So it was Knight, when it came out his side, was the one trying to get out and stop the right full advancing. And then when it was coming out Malumbi's side, he was trying to get across and try and stop the left full out from advancing, which had the knock-on effect that Cullen, who will normally just kind of sit off, he would leave that sitting off position and run straight up to either McTominay or McGregor. And I remember thinking, they're doing this brilliantly, but how the hell are they going to keep that going for 90 minutes?
And there was one moment early on where Knight went out to Hickey. It wasn't Patterson, of course. Went out to Hickey and he was nutmegged, and straight away Scotland had bodies in behind the midfield, and that seemed like, is the plan for him to go? Do they not want McLean to push up? Because there was always that vulnerability if Malumbi went out right hand side or Knight came left hand side. If they were beaten, then Scotland are very good at flooding that area in behind, and suddenly they were in on the back three. It didn't seem to happen too often, though. It seemed to work okay.
I thought in the first half they did it so well, and then the knock-on effect with the two in front is because the three are coming across, one of the two has to fill a bit of a gap off the other side of the field, if that makes sense. And again, they were doing that really well. I thought Parrott and Obafemi, whichever of them had to drop in and just fill that gap out there, were doing it really well. I just thought there's some amount of running in that, particularly Cullen's one. It's probably the best player I've seen at doing that role where you're the deep midfielder, but you actually run all the way up and press the opposition's deep midfielder is Fabinho. He's brilliant at it. He'll just depart and bypass the two centre midfielders and run up and do it. And Cullen was doing that really, really well. But I did say at half time at home watching, I was going, Jesus, like that's excellent, but my God, I'm going to need fair legs to keep that going.
It's such a long run as well, because if you're running towards if you're playing in the middle of a tree and you're running out to the right back or the left back, you have an easy pass to Christie or to whoever was playing in the wing for Scotland, so you almost have to run around it to block the channel, but then you're forcing them in the middle of the pitch, so there was an awful lot of tankless running for the middle of the pitch.
And why do you think Stephen Kenny said, well, Knight and Malumbi, you're going to make those tankless runs out to fullbacks, as opposed to McLean and Doherty, you squeeze up?
But you're leaving McLean and Doherty 1v1, and we've seen for Scotland's first goal, Doherty's not a great 1v1 defender, so if he gets beaten on the halfway line and he's running beyond, you're really, really struggling, because you're not going to catch Christie, whoever it is on the Scottish wings. They're so quick, so you don't want your fullbacks going out there. You want the five to be quite flat and just have cover, so the three can keep on a swivel, with Cullen staying there, just swivel and swivel. But like Shane is saying, there was an awful lot of running, and they were always going to run out of steam.
There's times I was looking at Knight where the ball's out to their right back again, and he's like...
To be fair, when you look at Parrott's miss, I think Parrott, although the ball gets stuck under his feet, it's not a great finish.
Yeah.
I think he's done so much running in the game that he's just a little bit tired, and it's quite a tired finish.
Yeah, the five in front of the back five are doing a huge amount of running so that the back five don't. And then, as you say, then unfortunately you might find yourself a bit short on legs then when you need the attacking side of it. Because, it was a very impressive first half performance, but it was a very impressive first half performance still without the ball. Like we actually had more of the ball in the second half. We had 39% possession in the first half. But we were setting traps, and we were setting it up well, and when we were turning it over, we looked good and we looked explosive. But it was a half that we played predominantly without the ball, but just played it very well without the ball.
Dion, those two goals conceded, neither of them look good on review. Stephen Kenny's saying that Brown was pushed, but I don't know if you're cushioning your fall. Do you put your hands up that high?
He was pushed by an Irish player. Maybe the player who pushed him was pushed by a Scottish player.
Yeah,
but I don't know where the line is for fouls on that. No, both goals are ones you're going to look at and just think you can't give them away.
No.
Doherty, obviously, for the first one, it's interesting. The lad saying about like the midfield getting tired, but that was the defensive action of a tired player. Yep. Doherty like dangling out a leg.
He's praying that the cross is hit and his leg hits it. The last thing he wants is another touch and have to go again.
Yeah, but it's just, and that's only... Now, I was talking to Shane beforehand, I was like watching it again today, and like the first 5 minutes of the second half, Ireland started okay. And then just that attack, and again, it's just a tiredness manifests itself. Free header, and the game doesn't change because the chances. Doherty had a great chance after that. Parrott obviously, but it does alter the complexion of things, and it makes all that running. I guess I think the thing is, if after 5 minutes of the second half you concede that goal, all the running you've done in the first half then becomes harder again to think, right, we've got to do it all again to keep it level now.
So I think it's going to have massive negative consequences for him, because I think whatever hope he had previously, I think that action alone, that defensive contribution alone, ensures Antonio Conte doesn't pick him this side of the World Cup break. Conte's not going to pick Matt Doherty if that's what he's going to do in a defensive situation like that. You were saying you don't like him in 1v1s generally. It's more than tiredness for you. Yeah, I think that's the trend with wing backs these days. They're not generally great defending. You think of the best, you think of Trent Alexander-Arnold, Kyle Walker. They're not the best 1v1 defenders in the world, especially Trent Alexander-Arnold. But Kyle's so quick that you can get past him and he'll come back to you. So his pace gets him out of an awful lot of trouble. But in terms of Matt, I think Matt's best attributes are going forward. And when he stood up 1v1, I think you can manipulate the ball, you can get past him, and it's not even that. Sometimes you go past him and it's like it doesn't bother him. He will jog back after you. Sometimes the body language is a bit like for the talent is there, but there's throughout this campaign a couple of times I've thought, well, maybe it's match sharpness, but it is a trend. Certainly, I've found myself thinking it for 18 months of
come on, a bit more just in your body language almost.
Well, look, it's the easiest thing in the world for a footballer. You know, if somebody skips past you and all of a sudden you've got them hard yards to run back, you can just start thinking, oh, well, I'm not playing at my club. Things aren't going great here either. Why would I run back? And it's just those 2 or 3 seconds that you're down in the dumps and you just don't do it, and it becomes the norm then to react like that. And sometimes you can just get into a bit of a rut of reacting the wrong way. And yeah, his body language isn't great, but look, he's a super player. He's obviously not playing at Spurs, but defensively, he can do better than that. I was just dangling a leg, and it was a bit of tiredness. I accept that, but I think Matt's best attributes going forward and defensively he can be found out.
Dion, as Obafemi squares the ball brilliantly, by the way, that's a hard pass to play around the defender at pace, because how often do we see them played in behind someone or too far ahead and intercepted? So what a pass. And Troy Part's about to take his first touch, and I hit pause and I say, Dion, yes or no? What was your sense?
Well, it's funny because when that counter-attack happened, what you're expecting not to be pulled off is the pass.
Yeah.
That's the bit. And so once he made the pass, if I'm right, that's the hard bit is over.
Well, I think then we all sit up and go, oh, we're on.
Yeah. No, I was certain once, because the pass was the thing. That can go behind him, it can go too far in front of him, whatever. But the pass was perfect, I thought. Yeah. And then he just can't get it. And you look at it then, as he can't get it out from under his feet, and he kind of scuffs it off his leg, like his other leg.
It's the second touch kills him.
Yeah,
it's the second
stuck
touch.
under him.
Under his feet,
yeah.
Parrott at underage level, was his game about being prolific in those instances? That was him.
Yeah,
that was his game.
His goal scoring rate at underage levels for Tottenham was absolutely outstanding.
And those type of goals, presumably.
Yeah, I think he would have probably been regarded nearly more so as just being clinical inside the 18-yard box in terms of, one-touch finishes, cross comes in, bang, back of the net from a lot of what I would have saw in his underage appearances for Spurs and that. But that's still, that's still a chance he absolutely has to be taken.
He was even too far away from the keeper. Like that second touch, as you say, he could take it in closer.
It ends up being an easy save. Do you know what I mean? It ends up being quite a comfortable save, really, doesn't it? Like, keeper doesn't have to do outstandingly well to save it, which is what he would be most annoyed about. But all day long, it's the second. You can get away with the first touch. First touch is just a settler, but it's the second one to get it out from under his feet. He just kind of doesn't kick it at all.
Bit more composure. He takes another touch before shooting just to really get it out of his feet.
Yeah, well, once he took the bad second touch, it's under his feet. I thought the only option then was to try and fake a shot and bring it round the goalkeeper. 100%. But look, listen, you're in the heat of the moment, you're thinking, I'll just slaughter it, it'll be easy. But it wasn't there to be hit. He wasn't under pressure. I'm not sure if he knew, what was around him, if he knew the picture. And he just rushed it. He rushed it. But like I said, I do think he was tired. He had done so much work going from side to side throughout the game, getting into physical battles. And I think he was just a little bit tired. But like we said, he's not a prolific goal scorer. The noise is coming out of Preston is he's doing really, really well, but he's just not hitting the back of the net. And I think that was quite similar again last night. Done really, really well, but he's not a prolific goal scorer.
We'd comforted ourselves with he hasn't scored in 10 games for Preston by the fact that they'd only scored 3 in 10 as a team, so maybe he wasn't getting the chances.
Yeah, well, look, Preston aren't a free. They don't score an awful lot of goals, and even us, Ireland, we only average 3 shots on target a game, which is not an awful lot when you think of Obafemi, Parrott. These are lads who are feeling their way into the international scene, and if you're going to give them 3 shots on target a game, that's some ratio to be hitting the back of the net in games. So we need to provide more for them. A lot of people are jumping on Parrott's shoulder saying if he'd have scored that, which in black and white that is the terms of it, but there's an awful lot more to the game than just that miss.
When Doherty chopped inside and shot with his left foot, Malumbi was sprinting in and praying for him just to slide it to him and let him hit it on the run. What was your sense of that moment?
Well, when it initially happened, I wanted him to shoot just because the angle, if he shoots across the goalkeeper, you would have thought that the keeper's going to save it and parry it into a really dangerous area. That's what I wanted him to do.
When it was on his right foot initially?
When it was on his right foot, yeah, I thought it was there. But he chopped back and it wasn't a bad chop. It's there to hit on his left foot, but Matt Doherty on his left foot, you want him to think a couple of steps ahead and think, if I chop back onto my left foot here, is this really the best option for me? He's not a great left-footed player. He doesn't use it an awful lot, so that was a wrong decision. It was there to be hit, and I think he made a wrong decision, compounded with another wrong decision, and obviously if it goes in the top corner, it's excellent, but he made one wrong decision and followed it up with another one.
What was good about last night from an Irish perspective, or who was good, Dion, or what jumped out to you that's a definite positive?
Nathan Collins again exceptional. Like we talked about the midfield and what they did and didn't do, but then you see what he's doing in particular, and the way he's defending, but also coming forward, like that that break down the right in the first half. That Obafemi then plays out to McLean, and there's moments like that. He's an exceptional player. Midfield in terms of the work rate. But again, it's what half you want, what half you want to use to look at for signals for the future. And if you look at the first half, you think, right, there's so much to be encouraged about. I thought Obafemi was great in the first half. I thought his touches were really good. I thought there was a real sign of him just providing something again, just that we the chance to go on the break, with the Parrott chance, things like that. Those kind of things that are great assets to have. So there was we'll get into the bigger picture, but I remain steadfast,
Yes.
and positive about it, and we can get into that. But I think there are players there. I think Collins, the way he's developing, is of all the things to be encouraged by. That's a real one.
Make the case to be steadfast then. And I would say, by the way, the majority of texters, for what it's worth, are with you. Very positive about what Kenny's doing. We have to be nuanced about this. It's not just a case of we lose, therefore we turn our back on all the progress he's made.
Well, I'll make a few cases.
Yeah.
Some of them more facetious than the others. But first one, I'd say, are you not entertained? I find every time we talk about this is what I saw. I'm not saying anything different.
Sure.
But I find Ireland matches now far more engaging and exciting than they have been for a long time. Now, people will say, okay, we want the victories, we want the qualification. That's true. But for these types of games, to be actually as excited watching an Ireland team is really, that hasn't happened in a long time. And it's because of even when you're talking about it and the demands that are being put on, the things that he's asking the players to do, maybe he's crazy to do it, but the things he's asking midfields to do, all these things to do, it's cuter, more world-weary, cynical managers will probably be saying, why are you doing that? But he is actually trying to get them to do things that are adventurous, not necessarily in the way they're playing now, because we said it's not the kind of pure football that people that might have been spun at one stage, but it's still it's a daring type of football, and I find it engaging and entertaining, and I find the matches, perhaps because that anything could happen.
And do you feel that things are very much still in a state of progress, or are we just bobbing around at a certain level?
I think there's progress. That's a good that's a good question though. I think there is progress. I thought again last night, first half, you'd say, right, this is again there's progress here. A team that, for all the things we laid out, here's a team playing in a way that requires preparation, requires coaching, requires everyone to know what they're meant to be doing, and there's 11 of them doing it, and that seems like progress. The fact that it's maybe too much to ask players to do it for 90 minutes is an issue, but it did seem, I would say, that's progress. Again, the defence, the way they played together, all those things, it just looked like, okay, there's real foundations here. And I also think, and it's a strange thing, it's only been 2 years. You know what I mean? It's not a long time, really.
Yeah.
People, because we've been having the same debate since match day one practically, it seems like a lot longer. But it's like Stephen Kenny had his first match 2 years ago, I think.
So what is it, half a Premier League season?
Yeah,
maybe?
it's 20,
Worth of games?
27 matches or something like that.
Yeah.
So now that's just the game. International football, you don't get 90 matches or whatever matches or 60 matches, whatever a Premier League manager might get before.
Sure.
But it's still a short period of time, and the Euros are going to decide things, obviously.
Yeah.
But that's really, there's been a lot of noise for failure to qualify for a World Cup, which we would nobody. I don't think anyone would qualify us for a World Cup.
Keith.
If I'm honest, I think we're exactly where we should be in the group. I think the only issue for me is that Stephen came out at the start of it all and said he expects us to be there or thereabouts to win it. I was never on board with that. I think Ukraine are outstanding when Ukraine's starting 11 are outstanding, not the Ukraine team that came here. Scotland are by far, they're predominantly a Premier League team. Che Adams and Ryan Fraser coming off the bench, so strong. So to say that he thought we were going to top the group over them two, I never seen that, to be honest. And look, we are the team in transition. We have a couple of hard workers. We got some really good, decent young players, but we don't have just that little sprinkling of stardust just yet. And if that comes along, if somebody develops into that, brilliant. But at the minute, we're a really hard working team. We're trying to do things right. We are progressing, but in that final third, we just lack. We're just toothless.
Yeah. Look, I watched it with yourselves last night, and I thought, so Damien Delaney was probably harder on Stephen and maybe a bit harder on the Irish team than I would have been looking at it overall. Yet he made his point in a way that I thought was, it was very well put, particularly when he said that thing of, I've never fancied management, but if I was given carte blanche where results don't matter, I'd fancy it then. Like, it can't, it absolutely cannot continue that we all keep saying there's signs of progress and there's young players and therefore it's fine that the results aren't going our way. It is very much going to come down to the European campaign. It's expanded. There's more opportunity. I'm looking at the qualifying. I still think we're going to end up having to punch above our weight, probably, to try and qualify from it, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And that essentially is the number one problem. Like, we have to punch above our weight all the time.
Yeah, because one of the points I put to Damien, I was curious. So based on these 2 years, because there's not a huge amount of time, especially when you're talking about giving debuts to 16 players in 18 months, and 7 of last night's 11 are under 23. Do you feel like we're pitching up in March for the Euros qualifiers? Are we pitching up there with a lot of the kinks ironed out and the vulnerabilities ironed out and battle hardened and ready to go, to the point that you'd feel confident to qualifying for Europe? And he said no. And as you said, I don't want to misquote him, but his general sense was, I don't care if they're all under 23, that's irrelevant. There has to be a certain point where results are taken into account, and if it's just a case of I can play young players and saying I'm playing free-flowing football and I'm always in a state of progress and I'm never being held accountable for results, then what are we doing here?
Okay, so my argument there would be, so that's a good way of putting it. If we take the midfield three, okay, and we take the last 12 months, okay, when we get to March next year, are we in a better chance of qualifying with Cullen, Knight and Malumbi having played consistently and regularly for Ireland over the last 12 months and them being the starting midfield three, as against Stephen having been a bit more conservative, not having pitched them three in, and we're still with a midfield three of, I don't know, Hendrik Horahan and, I don't know, A.N. Elder. Yeah, I think we're in a better place to try and qualify now with those three with 12 months experience of international football under their belt. They're three very, very good young players, and I think the learning curve is pretty much going to have to be over by the time March comes around. But again, my point is, like, depending on the draw we get, depending on the teams you come up against, like, unless you're an ardent Celtic fan or Scottish football fan, like, I don't think people realise how good the likes of like Cal McGregor is a good step ahead of anything we have in centre midfield. He's a good, without being a world football superstar, he is a good step ahead of anything we have in
League
centre.
football.
I thought he was excellent last night. Absolute, just metronome, just ball, move. Never gives it away. Defence split and pass when that's on. Keep it simple when it's on. And I think we have, particularly Cullen, I don't think Cullen was at his best last night. I'm a huge fan of Cullen. I don't think he was at his best last night. He is the one that I think can be a McGregor. Absolutely. I think he will be a McGregor within the next 2 years, thereabouts. But Scotland had established centre midfielders that we could only dream of in McGregor and Scott McTominay last night, which means you were going to have to punch above your weight, which is why, like, both sentences can be true. It's fine to say Ireland were quite good last night, Scotland were way better than us. I think they're both fair enough statements, so they are. And I think it's also fine for you know, us to say there's real signs of improvement there, and also fine for Damien to say, but hold on, lads, we're not getting a result. Like, again, both statements are true. It doesn't have to be one over the other.
And does it concern you that, like, so I take your point, Scotland being better, and say the Martin O'Neill era, where there was a sense, leaks out from various quarters, that the preparation during the week in training was average enough. But there was something like about O'Neill, his personality or the intangibles, it sort of inspired the team to go out and get a result. You know, in that kind of a scenario, that, yeah, okay, on paper, they're probably a bit better than us and more Premier League players, but actually, let's find a way here. And are we too almost, doesn't matter that we lost, good progress? I don't know if that message which is put out to the media doesn't also infiltrate the camp, that, you know, it's okay, we're still making progress. Maybe at a certain point, a tougher taskmaster would let a team know, I know, it's like the time for that's over. We actually need you to go out and put it up to these lads and get a result now.
Yeah, but I suppose on the flip side, as Keith said, you know, Stephen said at the start he expected to try and go and win the group. So, he certainly wasn't vocally saying, you know, we're likely to finish third in this group and that'll be fine, lads. You know, he was putting more demands on them, and then you take a slightly different approach when results don't go your way. But I get.
Yeah. But I think you see the players after the game last night, they're not looking like players who they've been excused defeat.
Oh, they're disappointed, I know.
And I think Kenny is the same. Like, it's not Brendan Rodgers when he was at Swansea talking up, like, every time they lost, you know, it was great for the people to come out and see this great Swansea team today, that kind of stuff. Like, it's not washing away defeats or just making excuses for them. I don't think. I know what you're saying. Like, is there a point when you draw a line? But I do think, and go back to the Damien Delaney point, which I think, again, you can totally just, like, see the argument for it. But, like, and you said, like, what are we, you know, like paraphrasing it, like, what are we doing here? I think whatever happens, like what Stephen Kenny has done is critically important for Irish football. You know, to kind of say, right, we're going to see where these players are. We're going to do, like Shane makes, you know, like bringing players through, doing this stuff. Whatever happens, that was essential. It was really essential.
And it's funny. I get the sense from Damien, he agrees with that. And I think this has been a very good transitional phase. But now he's almost saying, right, give us something to feel good about next year.
That is true.
Yeah.
Like, and you can't. But you have to for a certain period detach from results. Or else we go back into what we did before, paying managers. We can't do it anymore. We're paying managers £2 million a year.
True, that is true.
Because we thought they were going to get us results, and they didn't do anything. That was far worse. That was far worse for Irish football. Like, and I've got to go over. We're still paying the consequences of that time. We're still living with.
Yeah.
My sense, that's one thing that I think it is been vital for Irish football.
Well, my sense actually is that former internationals, looking in your direction, are a little bit less impressed than the rest of us. I think there is a degree with the former players I'm talking to, on off the record, just generally, I feel there is a degree of giving a lot of rope here, and they're less willing to go along with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think there is an awful lot of ex-players, ex-internationals who aren't happy with it. Stephen is given an awful lot of rope, but I think the facts remain the same. The pool of talent is not like it has been over the years, you know. The Irish teams I was in with Trapattoni, it was pretty similar to last night. We worked hard, we did what we needed to do, we were experienced, but we had people on the pitch who would hit the back of the net. All we had to do was get half a chance for Robbie and he'd score. Now, the lads are working hard, they're staying in games, they're punching above their weight. Like, last night against Scotland in the midfield, we were outweighed. They're much better than us in the middle of the pitch, but that wasn't the problem. Yeah. The problem was the final third. They had 3 shots on target, scored 2 of them. I think we had 5 shots on target and scored 1. So the final third is a big one for me. So we're hard working, we're doing all that. We're drilled really well, we're passing the ball a little bit better, we're better to watch. But we just need somebody at the final end, like an Obafemi, to just catch fire. So
then, to be fair to Stephen Kenny, that sounds like he's taking every box. That's all you can ask of a manager.
Yeah, again, the results, it's 1 win in 15 games in the Nations League. I know that they're not all under Stephen Kenny, but every time a manager gets sacked, it's always, well, it's a results business. That's always the paraphrase, well, it's a results business, I understand. And looking at results alone, he shouldn't be in the job if we're calling a spade here. But I think for me, I'm prepared to give him the little bit of rope because I do believe we're moving in the right direction, and the talent we have there is not what we're used to. We don't have that superstar. We don't have Robbie Keane, a Damien Duff. We just don't have it. Our best players are goalkeepers, and the lads in the middle are punching above their weight. And like I say, if we get an Obafemi, a Troy Parrott to catch fire, then maybe something can happen.
If Evan Ferguson or something can come through,
yeah, even somebody from the 21s,
that would be. That would be, if he can develop the way people hope he can develop, or somebody, that kind of thing, where you actually get, because it is the thing, we are missing, and it's always been the case. It's been the case for a long time.
Yeah,
you're missing when you play other teams. You see they've got one player.
So just 2, 3, 4, 5 more years.
Well, it'd be terrible. Like, if Evan Ferguson, evolves into a superstar, and you're looking and you're thinking, God, Stephen Kenny just was the one thing he needed.
You see, we're always looking for that saviour, aren't we? Troy was to be that saviour.
Yeah, I know we are.
All that.
But that's what football. Like that's. Yeah. But they get produced out of systems too, and we're going back to talk about what we've been left with here.
See. The question I find myself having to ask of myself, based on what you've put the key to, is the positives I keep finding in the performance and in what he's doing. Am I finding those positives because they're genuinely there and because they genuinely exist, or am I finding those positives because I find Stephen to be such a great guy and I want him so desperately to be successful and I want him to succeed? Is that why I'm finding those positives, or are they real positives?
But I think the genuine sense of engagement with the matches, I don't think that's out of, maybe it is partly because people want Kenny to succeed, but I don't know.
No, you're right, we are the games are definitely better. Nobody can argue
I
that.
Totally agree, and
kudos to whoever invented the Nations League. Like, to be fair, there's no way you're getting that over normal friendly last night like that. I thought it was brilliant.
Big nights it felt like.
I think Tuesday will be very interesting against Armenia, because they're the teams that we struggle against. Your likes of Scotland, the bigger nations that will play against us, will open up a bit because they believe they can go toe to toe with us. The likes of Armenia, who will say, right, we'll just get behind the ball and see if they can break us down. That's when we really struggle.
And we will have more possession. We'll have
an awful lot of possession, and it'll probably end up with a Shane Duffy header in the 90th minute and we win 1-0. But
how do we make sense of that?
Well, exactly. But I'm really looking forward to Tuesday night, because I think that will be a more realistic benchmark of where this Irish team is. We can lift our levels against the Scotlands, against the teams who will play against us, the lower nations that come here and just try and defend. That's where we'll see if we're actually progressing on it.
OK, I'm going to get to your text messages, which are flooding in, and we'll have a final few minutes with Keith Tracy, Dion Fanning, Shane Keegan. Our football coverage and Off the Ball is brought to you by Sky. All the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports. Back in 1 sec.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
Budget 2023 will be announced this Tuesday.
With this, I commend this budget to the House.
And here on News Talk, we'll be with you every step of the way.
The Independent reports that workers will save at least €500 a year on average under budget plans.
Join us just before 1 as we go live from Leinster House as Ministers Donoghue and McGrath outline their plans for the country's finances.
You want to put a month's rent back in people's pockets. How are you going to do that?
We'll be bringing you in-depth analysis from our panel of experts, as well as bringing you the reaction from the political parties.
Might that be more agreeable to you if they said, listen, it has to go back up eventually, we'll do it in April?
We'll also be getting your views on what kind of budget would make a difference to your life.
It is going to send small to medium-sized businesses over the edge.
Budget 2023.
Thanks to Grant Thornton for expert advice on how the budget affects your business.
This Tuesday on News Talk.
DoneDeal has the largest range of premium cars in Ireland from Ireland's trusted premium car dealerships. That's why you will find Toyota Long Mile on DoneDeal. Stop by Toyota Long Mile's showroom on DoneDeal today and connect with them for great hybrid offers. DoneDeal, for premium car deals to feel great about from Ireland's trusted car dealerships.
Guaranteed Irish business members continue to sustain jobs and communities across Ireland.
That's why here at LIA we're dedicated to continuously driving higher standards in financial services education. As the Centre of Excellence for the Education and Development of Finance Professionals, our vision is that consumers can achieve financial freedom based on quality advice from their financial advisor. If you'd like to join our community and forge a new career in finance, we're now accepting registrations for our 2023 exams. Find out more at lia.ie. So look out for the G, guaranteedirish.ie. Altogether better.
Hi, I'm Ken Doherty, and when I need car insurance, I contact the specialists at insuremycars.ie. Their team always finds me the best policy at the lowest price and with all the benefits I need. If your car insurance is up for renewal, visit insuremycars.ie.
City Financial Marketing Group Limited, trading as insuremycars.ie, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
There are many reasons people are switching to Clear Mobile.
Serious deal. Simple as.
Customer service is A1.
Great coverage. There you go. Unlimited calls, texts and data with 99% 4G population coverage from $12.99 a month for a limited time. You clear? They are. Switch today at clearmobile.ie. 30-day contract. Activation fee and fair usage applies. Max data speed 5 megabits per second. $12.99 subject to eligibility. Offer ends 30th of September 2022. See clearmobile.ie for terms.
This is the Advantage card from An Post Commerce. This is a saving of 34% on packs of prepaid parcel items. This is a way to help your business grow and thrive by cutting your costs and boosting your revenue. This is e-commerce for everyone. Get your Advantage card free at onpost.com today or at your local post office. An Post Commerce, a world closer. Terms and conditions apply.
We've squeezed two great offers into one great sale. Switch to Virgin Media now and enjoy 500 meg speeds as standard. That's ultra-fast and reliable broadband for just €40 a month for 12 months. Want to add great TV? Then get TV 360 for an extra €15 a month. Switch in-store or at virginmedia.ie. Virgin Media. Bring on amazing.
Subject to location and availability. New customers only. 12-month contract. 500 meg broadband, €70 a month after offer. Broadband and TV, €55 a month for 12 months. €99 thereafter. Ends October 5th, 2022. T's and C's apply. See virginmedia.ie.
Where will Stena take you this autumn? From unparalleled customer care to cozying up for some you time. From exciting onboard entertainment to settling in for some peace and quiet. All via service that is just right. Take your car to Britain from only €139 or France from only €189, car and driver one way. Get away from the everyday with Stena Line and start your trip right. Book today at stenaline.ie.
Wake up to mattress and bed savings at the Harvey Norman 5-day mattress sale. We have massive discounts and hundreds of deals on in-stock mattresses ready for immediate delivery, like guest beds from as little as $129. But hurry, only while stocks last. Up to €1,500 off Sealy Posturepedic mattresses. Save up to 50% on double bed frames. Plus, Irish-made mattresses from a low $169. The Harvey Norman 5-day mattress sale is now on. But hurry, must end Monday.
Go!
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.
You're very welcome back. We'll continue the football chat in just one moment. But first, let's check in at Tyrone and Castle, the Irish Women's Open, nearing its conclusion. Aisling O'Reilly is there.
Yes, we're into the final stretch here at the KPMG Women's Irish Open. Ireland's Leona Maguire is currently on the 15th hole, 11 under par in total. She had a slow start today with bogeys on the first and second, but things picked up from there when she birdied 3 of the last 5 holes, as she looks to be finding her rhythm now, just 2 shots off the lead, as the anticipation and excitement is building here in Dromoland Castle. There is still no clear leader. Denmark's Smilla Tarning-Sunderbu and Austria's Christine Wolf, who lead 13 under, followed by Scotland's Laura Beveridge, who had a brilliant eagle on the 15th. Klara Spilkova of Czech Republic, and England's Gabrielle Cowley and Annabelle Dimmock, they follow 1 shot behind on 12 under. The crowds have really come out in force, and they're in for a very exciting finish here at the final day of the KPMG Women's Irish Open.
Aisling O'Reilly there in Dromoland Castle. Golf and Off the Ball is in association with KPMG and the Women's Irish Open. We're talking football here in Off the Ball. We have Keith Tracy, Dion Fanning, Shane Keegan. I'll get to some of your texts in just a moment. we were continuing the chat during the ad break. You asked one of those wonderful, strange hypotheticals. Keith, you said if Mick McCarthy was in charge of this current squad in this Nations League campaign, you turned to me and said, would he get more points? And I said, I don't know. And you said?
I think he would have. Just like it would have been horrible to watch. I'm not saying that's what I want. I'm not saying that by far. It's just one of them questions that I think if Mick McCarthy had this group of lads, obviously Duffy would be playing that. That's a given. He'd probably be up fronted, but it'd be all set pieces. But I think there is a horrible way for that Ireland team to go and win games. We're trying to do it the right way. We're trying to play football. I get all that, but I think at this stage there should be more points on the board.
But I think there's more to life than a few more points in the Nations League. That's the debate.
Yeah.
What matters more?
What would you prefer?
Well, I prefer not to be in a relegation battle with Armenia.
We're not in a relegation battle with Armenia.
Well, if Armenia beat us, we're last, aren't we?
Well, yeah, but we're not going to lose to Armenia and Dublin, are we?
We'll be lost to them away.
Where would that leave Stephen Kenny, seriously? Because the FAI and Stephen Kenny, they are hitched and he's absolutely getting the Euros campaign. Do you think a defeat on Tuesday would change that?
I think a defeat on Tuesday would have a little bit of noise around it,
sure.
but for me, he has to stay in. We've given him the new contract. Let him have a crack at the Euros with the lads. He's training for it. So, yeah, for me, if he does lose, I do think there will be noise, but I think it'd be quite naive to remove him now because I don't think there's a big line of people wanting the job.
And would you prefer a few more Nations League points on the board and it have been horrible to watch the 6 games?
No, I'm not. I don't want that. That's not what I want. This is what I'm saying. I am prepared to give Stephen some time and give him some rope because the way he's trying to go about it is right. It is better to watch. I get that, but the player inside me and the analyst inside me looks at it and just thinks there's a horrible way we could get something here. There's something we could get. And
the way you say horrible, it means really bad.
Really, well, look, I played in Sean Dyche and Sam Allardyce team, so I've seen some horrible stuff. But there's just something in me that says we could have won against Scotland. Now
Sean Dyche is available, Keith.
Well, yeah, get him in, get him in for me. Look, and what you said as well, like there's this notion that the next manager, if there is a next manager to come in, that it's not going to be football. You know, the next manager can take over Stephen Kenny's mantle and move on.
Yes,
but for me, look, keep him in it, give him a chance, let him see how the Euros goes. But
it is the Euro. Like the Euros is what it'll be decided on.
That decides everything.
Because like what again? Like okay, relegation from the Nations League. Like who really cares too much about that? We missed out like the playoff against Slovakia. World Cup qualification, which we said it was a long shot. No matter, you know, I don't know if we could, you know, get horribly to the World Cup. You know, qualifying for the World Cup is probably beyond this squad.
Yeah.
Whoever is the manager, whatever way you play. So this is the one. The Euros is the test, and that's you know, and again, a competition that the way it is now, Ireland should be qualifying.
And then hopefully the next World Cup, considering we're going to 32 teams, we might get to experience it next time round.
And that Euros qualification next year is going to be a very intense period. Starts in March, ends in November. It's going to be a sprint. Do you want some of the texts coming in? So either we qualify and Stephen keeps his job, or we don't and we get a new manager. Surely we just let this play out. At least we get to watch some decent build-up play while we wait. So that's I think that probably sums up where we all are, actually. Yeah, I think that's the most agreeable text that's come in. Lads, maybe a more objective analysis came from a Scottish supporter I watched the game with last night. His opinion was that Scotland passed Ireland off the pitch for most of the game. He subsequently followed up with, well, it was mostly Championship and League One players playing against mid to lower Premier League players. I couldn't argue with him in fairness, says Finn and Navan. Jack and Mick both had English players who signed for Ireland in previous eras. We would have had Rice and Grealish. Lads, this Irish team isn't perfect, but it's making progress with a lot of inexperienced players. Scotland had 6 Premier League regulars and they're starting outfield 10. Ireland had 1 and did enough to at least earn a draw last night. Kenny's taken charge of the squad in the biggest transition we've ever seen in Irish football history, and he's doing a very good job. Is another text in, which is probably fair enough when you look at the transition.
Don't know if I'd agree with did at least enough to earn a draw. Yeah, I thought Scotland were a good bit better team last night.
Yeah, and it's funny, like we all look through our our own Prism, Steve Clark afterwards was talking about the opening half, and he was saying, look, we're bloody tired from the Ukraine game. We knew we'd just have to withstand Ireland having more energy, and then we'd kind of come good. So, we're saying, God, look at this first half, it was brilliant. And Steve Clark's calm enough on the sideline thinking, it's okay, they're going to have a bit more energy than us. So that was part of the story as well.
Yeah. No, look, they were the better side. Look, again, the whole thing, if Troy scores, we do almost definitely get something out of the game, you would have imagined. But that doesn't equate to we did enough to definitely deserve something out of the game. I mean, they were better than us in almost every metric, really. So they were. I mean, I was looking even at the average touch map, like just to show how on the back foot we were. 2 Ireland players had their average touch of a ball in the game over the halfway line. That was the front 2. Scotland had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 players and the 2 full-backs on the halfway line. They nearly had 8 players whose average touch was over the halfway line. Yeah, that's how on the back foot we were. But yeah, we managed those situations quite well. Probably at times because of some superb last-ditch defending. Yeah. And is that a good thing or a bad thing? Brilliant that we did such brilliant last-ditch defending. Oh, sugar! If we hadn't managed such good last-ditch defending, what would the score have been? Because you can look at it either way. A lot
of our, for sure you could. A lot of our best moments were the likes of Darragh O'Shea playing a through ball, or Nathan Collins playing a through ball. And if you think of Scotland, they had a lot of sustained pressure in the middle third and a bit further on. Their midfield players keeping the ball. You don't remember too many periods where it was our midfield saying, we're going to keep the ball a little bit and take the sting out of the game and make you run around. It was all quite direct, and I don't know why we didn't exert that kind of control over Scotland for any period, really.
Well, it's difficult because, like you say, they were playing 3 centre-halves with the 2 wing-backs, so they will push the 2 wing-backs up into our half and try and keep us in there. So when we win it, our best to go and hurt them straight away is to go down the jugular to try and hurt them. So with that, you need to play risky passes. It has to be back to front really quickly, and the forward runs need to be sprints. So that's why in possession, when we do win it, we need to go and hurt them. That's why they build up the possession. And I just don't trust us when we start trying to play around in the back too much. But I thought there was like a hybrid approach last night. We did play football, but when the press got tight and you could feel it getting all a little bit antsy, just clip her over the top. Yeah. I mean, it's no big deal. It doesn't make it a long ball team. You've seen Virgil van Dijk do it. You've seen Man City do it when the press gets a little bit tight. Just fire one over the back line and get somebody run.
How big a loss has Anthony Barry been, do we think? I know it's hard to know for sure. What's our sense?
Yeah, I would argue a huge loss, as somebody who's into coaching and following coaching and looking at hearing things on the ground as to what people are doing. Look, he seems to have been top class. You just look at how many different people now have rated him at Chelsea. I think he's into his 3rd different management team at Chelsea, is he? And he's been retained by every one of them. You read bits and pieces on him. I know he was massively impressive when he was in doing the pro licence. I think his thesis, a lot of them have said, is one of the best that they've ever laid eyes on in there. And yeah, I think it's you can 2 and 2 can sometimes be 5, but I think in this case, I think he is a person who made a massive difference, and I think he has been sorely missed.
Yeah. We did well to get him. I wonder, was it any way for us to properly lock him down with it?
Yeah, well, look, it's just the problem with those backroom roles in general, as we've seen, isn't it? What do you do? Do you go and get somebody who you're likely to be able to retain for the next few years, or do you go and get somebody who's one of the best around, knowing because he's one of the best around, you risk potentially losing?
So, final thoughts then. Your take on Tuesday and what it means and how you think Ireland will go?
I could see it could be more of a struggle along the lines of games like that we've seen before. I don't want to bring up Luxembourg, but Azerbaijan games. That when we have to break down a team, it's a different proposition. And you would actually look. What?
We did it very well against Qatar that night. I thought, God, this is a real change from Irish sides. But then Yerevan happened. So
yeah. I think if we're talking about progress, I think that's something you would like to see happen on Tuesday. That actually that becomes Ireland are able to do that, break down a team with a bit more conviction and not be relying on the Shane Duffy last minute winner. But beyond that, we keep going. We keep the faith, and I think it's the best thing from where Irish football was, and one of the texters said that this is the biggest transition Irish football has made, and like there's a lot to be said for, like there's a lot of truth in that for so many reasons that we are bored of talking about, but there is just a lot of reasons why that's the case.
They also have to give us reason Tuesday night to keep the faith, Dion. Like you've used the phrase "keep the faith," like they need to give us reason again to keep the faith.
They do, and now that has happened. You know, when Kenny's been in those situations, that has happened, and I think it will happen again. I think the signs of the progress or the positive things from Saturday, I think, you know, hopefully they'll carry into Tuesday.
So you're all in agreement, you're enjoying the new approach and it's much better to watch and there's been a big transition. Just as a specific question, when you say, Keith, if Ireland had been horrible to watch, say for instance last night, they might have had a better chance of winning. What were the things you saw last night which made you kind of think, oh, we're handing the initiative a little bit here to Scotland, or we're risking not being as kind of effective as we would be under a more pragmatic manager? What is it, the passing at the back? What is it?
Yeah, sometimes passing at the back, although you can play out and it can look good or they can foul you, it just gets the crowd off their seat when they see even a half a press going well. So sometimes you can just clip it forward, you know, the front man can win a foul, you kill it, you tie your lace, you take your time, you just kill the crowd. And
that sounds like bore Dion Fanning and the home crowd into submission.
It is. Look, we're playing away to Scotland. Yeah. Scotland are a better team than us, so we're not going to go there and play for 95 minutes, throw punch for punch and be okay.
Because it was a great game last night.
It was a great game, but we need dark arts in the game.
Yeah,
like when you see, you know, for want of a better word, these foreign players and they're on the ground and they tie their laces, they take their time. These are all the dark arts of the game that the older players have that will just waste a couple of minutes. It kills the crowd, it annoys the Scottish players. The Scottish players are getting annoyed. Next minute they're flying into tackles they wouldn't have done.
So is the Keith Tracy equation, as we'll call it going forward, the more miserable a watch the game is, the higher chance Ireland have of nicking a result? Trapattoni did a real number on you, didn't he?
He did, yeah. Well, look, I think it's just the managers I've had over the years. But there's a hybrid approach here. I'm not saying I want that 100%, but there's sort of a hybrid approach. Sometimes we were fouled, we were putting a hand on a plane straight away. And that's great, we have confidence, but you need to remember we're away to Scotland and Hampden here. As well as the game might be going at the time, we're away to Scotland and Hampden here.
But Tuesday, I presume, is about if you're fouled, get up and...
Yeah, we want tempo, we want passing, we want to see people breaking the lines, we want, like I say, just people on the ball, we want to be able to break them down. I don't want, you know, after 60, 70 minutes it be 0-0, Dave hit the post from a long shot and we're all a little bit nervous of what might happen, but then we end up winning 1-0 and everybody just moves on, because this for me will be a real benchmark. We struggle against teams who come back and just say, we're prepared to suffer, we'll run all day, we don't really want the ball, we're happy to get a draw. Can we break them down? That's when we need a little bit of an inventive pass, and this passing, not the passes you see from A to B, something a little bit different, a little bit of stardust, and that's where the yardstick will be for me.
Would you make any changes to the 11?
No, I think everybody who played actually played well. There might be, you know, a couple of tired issues because there was so much work done by the middle three, the front two. We might want to freshen her up in that sense, but I don't think anybody. Maybe Matt Doherty will come out for Seamus, maybe. I'm not too sure.
I'm not a lip reading expert, but I feel when he was being substituted, he was screaming at the bench, I said I was good.
Yeah.
As in they thought maybe he was flagging and he had told them he wasn't and he didn't want to come off. So
if I was on the bench and Matt said he was good, I said, well, what were you doing for that defending? Because that was not good defending, and it looked tired defending. And when you look at that, and that's a Premier League defender playing for Tottenham, he's playing for one of the best clubs in England, and he just dangles a leg out. I mean, my 3-year-old boy would have went past him with that sort of defending. It was really, really poor. So to take him off, he looked tired. And I think that's probably just a bit of frustration. He's not getting the minutes he wants in his clubs. He's been took off. He knows he's been done for the first goal. He's probably just a little bit annoyed. The chance with his left foot he's missed as well. So maybe then coming off, he's just verbally just lost it a bit. But he will be a great player for us moving forward. But we need everybody playing, and that's not the case. I think there's just a little bit disjointed, the squad. Even there was a period in the second half against Scotland when Scotland scored and they were in the ascendancy, but we managed to just ride it and we were okay, we got through it, and then the penalty came. But that was really impressive for me because Scotland, like I say, they had Hampden behind them, everything was going, and we stood up to it. And then obviously the penalty, the contentious penalty, but like I say, again, there was progression, good signs in it.
Yeah, see, it's tough being Stephen Kenny. The margins, like you're looking at the Alan Brown penalty and you're thinking, oh my God, what can I do about that? You know, this, and then this shapes the entire conversation. Shane, you can have final word. Sum it all up.
Well, just I suppose on the 11, would you not go Ogbene? No, I just think Ogbene is the most informed Irish player at club level at the moment.
Yeah, Obafemi hasn't played a lot. Yeah,
and Obafemi was okay. I thought he was. I wouldn't be as maybe quite as effusive you were on him, Dion. He's very hit and miss. Like even the lead up to the goal from the corner, poor first touch to give it away, brilliant reaction to win it back. Then runs away with the ball. I thought made the wrong decision in going right when I thought Knight was coming around the left hand side. You know, he's up, he's down, he's kind of. Whereas I just think Ogbene is flying. I'd love to see him into the side.
I think if you play Ogbene or Obafemi, what you want from them is running onto the ball. I would say that when we have the ball in the middle, do not bother coming in towards it, because we don't want you playing football in the middle. That's why the three lads are there. Run away every time they get out. Now it'll be different against Armenia, because they'll have a low block. There won't be a lot of space behind them. But in general, Ogbene and Obafemi just run behind, because that's what they're good at. And when you get away from people, they can't catch them. Just use their strengths.
I think we'll be good enough Tuesday night, Joe. Like, it's easy to forget that, like, the result against Armenia was a bit of an anomaly. Like, we bet them in almost every metric. Like, they really, really did rob us the last day, to be honest. Yeah. Like, we were the better side, and I think we will be the better side. And I think if we perform, I don't think we'll be as unlucky as we were the last time round against them.
Yeah. Well, Keith says it's a relegation battle.
Well, it is.
In theory, he's right.
Decent players up front, them lot, I'm telling you.
They were beaten 5-0 by Ukraine.
Yeah, well, now look, these do have some decent players. There will be periods in the game where we have to defend well. I think it's Barsik Yang on the wing. There's so many half decent players out there. The boy who scored against us, the heavy set fella, he's really decent. Got a great left foot. We need to look after these boys. Although you look at them and you think, we'll be fine here, you need to switch on. These are the games that, you know, a younger head can prop up and think, that's Armenia at home, we'll beat this. Yeah. This is when you need to be professional. Everybody wants to be a footballer, but not everybody wants to be a professional footballer. This is what will set the professionals away from just your everyday footballers turning up against Armenia.
Very fair point. So we'll reconvene at some stage, but thank you all for popping in here on a Sunday. Keith Tracy, Republic of Ireland International, Dion Fanning, the Currency Associate Editor, and Cove Ramblers manager Shane Keegan. Gents, thanks, Mill. Appreciate it. Cheers.
Football on Off the Ball.
With Sky, get all the football you love in one place across Sky Sports, BT Sport and Premier Sports.